Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to yet again another 2023-2024 season preview. We got a late one here today with the Ottawa Senators. As you can tell, I'm not wearing a hat, showing the mullet off in full style. But regardless, so in 2022-23, we're going to start off right there. The Sens went 39-35-8 for 86 points. They were 21st in the NHL, and they missed the playoffs. So first off, I do want to say that I really enjoy talking about Ottawa. They're one of my favorite teams to discuss, and they're one of the teams that is really on the rise for me overall as one of my favorite teams in the league, because they just seem to be on that increase and getting better and better every single season. And it showed this year, even though this year wasn't a playoff year, and maybe this year was expected to be a playoff year, it was still a step in the right direction for sure, and definitely a step this team wanted to take 100%. Heading into this coming season. So their offseason was a little bit controversial. There was the Alex DeBrincat situation. Obviously, that has gone through now. Your departures list is as follows: Alex DeBrincat, Cam Talbot, Julien Gauthier, Austin Watson, Derek Brassard, and Nick Holden are all of your departures of the players that have left the Ottawa Senators. So obviously, there DeBrincat, good top six forward, had a down year for his standards goal-wise in Ottawa. Still will have a good year in Detroit for sure. Cam Talbot, it just didn't click, honestly. Julien Gauthier was a deadline player. Austin Watson, not a bad fourth liner. He probably will be missed. Derek Brassard, obviously there, a good fourth liner, but not going to be missed too much either. And then Nick Holden there as well. Pretty much a deft defender if I'm thinking correctly here. Your arrivals list is much smaller, but it's much more valuable if I'm being honest. You got Dominik Kubalik, Vladimir Tarasenko, and Zach McEwen as your main three arrivals to this roster here. So obviously, Kubalik, a good bottom six forward, third liner probably on this Ottawa team. Tarasenko, good top six forward, either first or second line, depending on how Ottawa wants to do it. And then McEwen, I wanted him back on the Flyers, but regardless, still a really good fighter. And is going to be a guy that Ottawa's going to like on their team for sure, coming from a Philadelphia Flyers fan myself. So your lineups here are via actually one of my good friends who is an Ottawa Senators fan. I went to him, asked him what he thinks the lines will be, or to kind of craft a good lineup here. So regardless, these are your lines. You got Tkachuk, Stützle, Tarasenko as your first line, and Batherson, Norris, and Giroux as your second line. That's a good top six. I'm not gonna lie, if depending on how this season goes, that could be one of the best in the league, if we're being honest. Because you look at guys there, Tkachuk, good fighter, captain. Stützle had a really good season this past year. Could reach the 100-point mark if he keeps going at the pace that he's going. Tarasenko, obviously there's a little bit of the controversy there with him being acquired and him not scoring a lot in the past couple of years. But when he played with the Rangers, he kind of showed that he played better with New York than he did in previous years with St. Louis. So maybe it was St. Louis, and we'll see how Ottawa does, obviously. And then like Batherson, good young forward. Norris, obviously there's some controversy around him because he hasn't been the healthiest over the past couple of years. So hopefully he can get a fully healthy season this coming year. And then Claude Giroux, obviously getting up there in age, but still a really solid top six forward for sure. Third line and fourth line, you got Dominik Kubalik, Shane Pinto, and Ridley Gregg. Then you got Stemskal, if I said that right, Kastelik, and Joseph. Then for other guys there, you got Sokolov, Ostapchuk, and McEwen as some extra forwards there. So obviously your bottom six there is pretty good. The third line is great. You got Kubalik, Pinto, Gregg. Pinto still needs to be signed at the time I'm recording this video, but regardless, still a really good, solid center. Kubalik, great third liner, played really well last year in Detroit at the start of the season. And Ridley Gregg, obviously a young forward, could be a contender for the Calder Trophy. But nonetheless, still a really solid rookie there for Ottawa for sure. It should pan out pretty well. Fourth line, Stemskal, Kastelik, and Joseph. Not a bad fourth line. There are rumors that Joseph could get traded, so obviously I don't like speculating with that, but that is out there. And then guys like McEwen, Ostapchuk, and Sokolov will for sure get time as well. Defense here, and I think this defense is one of the better ones in the Atlantic Division and the league. First pairing, you got Shabbat and Chikrin. Second pairing, Artem Zub and Jake Sanderson. Third pairing, Eric Brandstrom and Travis Hamonic. Then for some extra defenders, you got Clevin and Jacob Bernard Docker, who very well could make the lineup there out of camp above guys like Hamonic and such. So yeah, overall, still a pretty young and very solid defensive core, one of the better ones in the league, as I mentioned. And, we could be in for a massive breakout year with Ottawa for sure. I really think we are. And again, they are in a competitive Atlantic division. We're going to talk about their Kachuk brothers tomorrow, but regardless, they're still a really solid, they look like a really strong team. Goaltending is where I'm a little bit iffy on. You got Korpisalo and Forsberg as your maintaining. And then you got Matt Sogard as your third-string goalie, who I imagine will come up and play some games. But regardless, that's my biggest X factor is the goaltending. Because I look at that team, and I say to myself, well, what stopped them from being a playoff team last year? I would say the goaltending or DJ Smith. You could argue DJ Smith is a big X factor there too. I left Smith out of my notes, but he is very important here. Goaltending obviously is a big thing because, past couple of years they've struggled with finding a right goalie to maintain this system. Is Korpisalo the guy? We'll find out. But obviously, Ottawa is really relying on him here, signing him to that contract. But, regardless, I like Korpisalo a lot. I think he did well with Los Angeles after those bad years with Columbus, so maybe it was just Columbus. But obviously there too with guys like, Korpisalo and Tarasenko. Those guys are going to be really interesting this coming year. And then obviously too, DJ Smith. If they start off bad, he's fired. I made so many videos on this channel talking about that and talking about the Senators overall the past couple of seasons, past last season in fact. And if they start off bad, like if they even go 4-6, I think he gets fired. I'm not going to lie. If they even go 4-6, I think he gets fired. He is really on the hot seat right now. He's kind of like Lindy Ruff last year. I'm not saying he will turn into Lindy Ruff and make the Senators that good of a team out of the gate. It's possible. I mean, anything's possible. But, I'm not saying that will happen. But, really, if I'm Ottawa, I would not be trying to do that. So, yeah. But regardless, that is one of the biggest things. Biggest question is obviously playoffs. Are they going to make it back to the playoffs this coming season? I would say, yeah, probably. I mean, I think they've made enough strides to go to the playoffs. They're rising in the standings every single year over the past couple of seasons. So I think, yeah, they should be on the push to make the playoffs this coming season. Probably nothing more than that, though. That's probably the most I see them doing, if I'm being honest. But regardless, next up now is your point projections here. This is per the Hockey News' fantasy guide. So you start off here with Tim Stutzel with 94 points, Kachuk with 82, Giroux with 64, and then a tie for fourth with Batherson and Norris, each getting 60 there, obviously. So yeah, honestly, with Ottawa, my issue is that I think Stutzel could get a 100-point season. It's very realistic. Obviously, there might be a situation where he can't, and if he falls down back to earth, he's probably just going to be around an 80 to 90-point guy. That's really where he's going to be. But if he gets a 100-point season out of him, that's really good there for Ottawa for sure. Your sleeper or your bust is actually Jacob Chychrun. Chychrun went from the top dog in the desert to playing a more supporting role in Ottawa. His scoring rate dropped on a blue line with more mouths to feed, and he won't be the top quarterback on the Senators' power play, which hurts. Yes, obviously that is a big factor. You're going from a team like Arizona, because I'm an Arizona fan, that really didn't have much defenseman with him there anyways, and now that he's gone, going over to Ottawa where there's a much stronger defense with Shabbat, Zub, Sanderson, and such guys on the rise. Obviously there is going to be that factor of, is he going to be as good on Ottawa? And there obviously is that question too whenever you acquire a player. There's the same question with Tarasenko and Korpisalo and such. But regardless, of course, we'll find out there. I think Chychrun will be fine. He's one of my favorite players in the league. So we shall find out. But anyways, that does it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. This is the 2023-2024 season preview for the Ottawa Senators. A little bit of a late upload. I apologize for that. Busy day for me. But regardless, tomorrow will be the Florida Panthers. Anyways, thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.